Our girl is destitute.
What conspiracy theory do you have?
You're the Feyre.
I'm Feyre. He hates Tamlin. He's also a bit of a petty bitch.
And yet, she decides, let me just shoot my shot and see it. I'm like, girl.
Hello.
Oh, we are finally able to talk about some stuff that we, at least in the spoiler-free section, that it's been so hard not to talk about. I mean,
Ugh.
here, Surreal Squad, we could talk to you guys about
Yeah.
anything. But man, it's been so hard keeping some of this shit secret, especially once she got home. Last two
Ugh.
chapters.
Have been
Like not being able to tell
the
our little
spoiler.
babies over
Yeah.
in the spoiler-free section, Nesta is not glamoured
Yeah.
anymore. Like that was hard.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, it was such a relief to get to talk about it in the spoiler episode like last week. But yeah, it was quite a relief today, I think, to get to talk about Nesta. And it's hard too, because like Ariel and I had this whole, or I guess I did. I had like this like mini, very tiny, but little miniature crash out because, Ariel's saying these really beautiful things about Nesta and kind of being like, kind of just stick with her, folks, like just sort of hang on. And I was sitting there being like, is this spoiling? Like, is this? And I kind of went backwards and decided that like it wasn't, because one of the things I really loved about how this series plays out is, I had no idea that Nesta had her own standalone book. And so when you start Silver Flames, it's such this moment of like, what are we doing? And I personally love that surprise. But then Ariel and I also discussed that there were a lot of people who like, they had to like, they almost didn't read it because it was just Nesta. And so, I'm happy. I feel like we kind of found like a middle ground sort of finding a way of showing like, based even off just how she behaves in these two chapters, in chapter 30 and 31, there's a very cool lady there. There's a very cool way that she navigates, and there's a lot of explanation of why she navigates the way that she does, which I think is very, very cool. And honestly, like, I did not remember that we basically get an explanation as to why Nesta behaved the way she did when they were poor. Like, I did not remember that at all.
Yeah. And then that obviously gets expanded upon a shit ton in Silver Flames.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I actually, when I read Silver Flames, I was like, oh yeah, like she does mention this in the first book, and like you could tell that's, I feel, the jumping off point for Sarah J. Maas. Of like, I'm gonna write a whole book on this. But no, it was so funny because I was realizing, I mean, first off, I think I would not call what you had a crash out. You were very like, I think you need to give yourself more credit. I think you brought up actually a really valid point. And I'm glad we talked it out because, like, I knew I was walking that line, but I was like, I think it's okay to say this. So I risked it. But I'm going to give you a little shit for something else, though.
Oh, yeah, do it. What'd I do?
So I know you, when you first read this series, didn't know that we were going to grow to love Nesta. But I don't know if you remember this, but the first day we talked about ACOTAR, you told me there is a character in the first book who we're not supposed to like, who gets their own book later on. And so when I read it, I immediately knew it was going to be Nesta.
I did do that. Oh, Corryn. Shame on me. Shame on me.
But no, I'm glad you told me, because and I it was pretty much in that way where you did not even hint at who it was, other than it's someone we don't like.
Yeah.
And so, and it's kind of, I think, other than Amarantha, I guess, or I guess Reese, you could argue.
Yeah.
But reading, you might have said it was a female character too. Because like somehow I knew it was Nesta. And I was ready. And to be honest, I think that's why I was so like, oh my God, yes, give me a Nesta book when I got to Silver Flames.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, without spoiling, we've talked about this before in the Throne of Glass people, you know this, there's a similar character in Throne of Glass who we don't like for many books, who gets their own redemption book. And I remember when I got to that redemption book, I was like, I had to fucking read about so-and-so for a whole, I was mad.
Yeah, you were
and then it
very
ended up being
mad.
great.
You were very
But
mad.
I had already read ACOTAR by that point. So had I not had, you know, that kind of disclaimer, I might have been one of the people who hated on Nesta and was like, I don't want a fucking Nesta book, and like been a brat about it. And meanwhile, like, because I'd been prepped, I was like, no, like, give me a Nesta book. So, but I gotta give you a little shit.
No,
for that.
I'm so glad you did. No, I'm so glad you did, because that is so funny. I completely forgot about the hypocrisy that I am showing right now. Oh, that's hilarious. No, I'm so proud of you for giving me shit for that, because you absolutely should.
And in all fairness, like, I know I'm the spoiler queen, and actually last night, funny story. I went with David and my sister and her friend to go see the new movie Weapons that came out. And I'm not going to say what it was because I don't want to spoil, but I'd seen a TikTok about like the way that something was described in the film, in the script. And so I turned to my sister. I was like, hey, so from my understanding, this isn't a spoiler, but she goes, nope, don't even fucking tell me anything. Like, stop me, like, dead in my tracks. I was like, you know what? Fair. And then the joke was, the movie ends. I start telling her what it was. She's like, Ariel, I fucking sent you that TikTok. And I'm like, well, I would have spoiled it anyway then. And it truly actually had nothing to do with, like, it did not spoil anything in the movie. But I get it. My reputation precedes me.
Oh my God. I love it. I love that your sister and we treat you the exact same way. When we hear Ariel has those cue words, when she's like, I don't think this is a spoiler, but like that is normally your moment to be like, just tap out now, guys.
Yeah.
Or just accept that she might end up spoiling something for you.
It is one of my most aggressive toxic traits.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think we've already said on the pod, it's like the only time that we've like quote unquote like thought, which is that's still too harsh of a word. Like,
I know.
Had
but for us,
slight annoyance with one another. Like I feel like that's the only time.
I mean, our like scale of fighting compared to like actual fighting is so like ridiculously small. So like for us, that was a fight.
That was a moment.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Of me just being like, shut the fuck up. I cannot hear this anymore. And what's so great about that too is that I'm pretty sure you like eventually in that conversation were like, fair.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I will acknowledge when I'm being a little piece of shit and like, yeah, I kind of did spoil that for you. I'm sorry. And I'll regret it too. I will fully know I did this to the other person and myself.
Yeah. This was a communal. But anyway, thank you. So I love that you called me out on that.
You're welcome.
I really love that you did that. My only defense is that.
Gavel.
Yeah, my only defense is that Ariel likes Easter eggs. She likes being led down a garden path. That's why she is thriving as a Swiftie currently. So
good.
I know you like that.
Yeah.
So that's my only defense, but it's fair. You're totally right. I absolutely did do that because I think that's what I was telling Ariel is that like, I don't like anyone even showing me a possibility of something that could, or even alluding to, I don't like that. I think that's why often when I am reading particular books that maybe I know other people have read or whatever, like I don't really talk about it because I just want it to stay in this very singular like moment. And so that's why Ariel and I actually just finished a book, but Ariel and I we're reading the same book right now. And it's just the classic thing of like, where are you? And what's worked out really well for us is that I've been ahead of her most of the time.
You finished.
I did. I finished it.
Yeah.
But so it's great because I was so afraid you were going to get ahead of me at one point. And I was just going to be like, Ariel, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear, I don't even want to hear that you're stressed right now. Like I want nothing. I want literally nothing. I don't want to hear a single word about this. And there's one point where Ariel thought that I told her that I had finished the book, and I was being very
Oh, yeah.
quiet in our text message chain, and she was like, "I'm terrified. Why are you being so quiet?" And I was like, "Oh no, dude, I'm almost done. I'm not done yet. Like, don't worry."
Yeah. But no, like I look, I am the person who I will spoil shit in my own life. Like
Yeah.
I am the person who spoiled my own engagement.
Yeah.
I figured out David was proposing to me on the exact day.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. But the thing is, I'm not like, my mom the other day, I forgot, I think I was actually talking about Taylor Swift or something like that in her Easter egg. She was like, you really should have become a detective. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
Like, I love a mystery, but
do.
more than loving a mystery, I love to solve a
You
mystery.
do. You very
right?
much do. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is, look, it's why I write. Like,
Yeah.
I will leave little Easter eggs in my shit. Like,
Well, that's
it's
why
a
you're
game
good
for me.
too. I think that's why you're a good writer as well, is because you very much like appreciate and see the detail and the importance of, using this one word over that, or this or how our conversation goes, or even like kind of like stage direction almost kind of stuff. Like I think that's why, and especially in the genre in which you want to work in, I feel
Yeah.
like having that mindset is like very important. So yeah, I think it all makes sense.
Thanks. Well, speaking of Nesta,
Yeah, well,
let's
yeah, so 30-31, right?
Yeah.
We're still in the mortal realm, but obviously at the end of this we go back to the spring
Yes.
court. But we just left Feyre at the cottage. And love our sweet baby Feyre just walking about giving money.
So wonderful. There's a quote I actually want to talk about on the first page of this chapter, on page 261. So she's already given out I think she's given out the money. And then she says, it's this paragraph at the end, and it says, as I walked back to my father's manor, I passed Thomas Mandray and his cronies lurking by the village fountain, chatting about some house that had burned down with its family trapped inside a week before, and whether there was anything to loot from it. He gave me a too long look, his eyes roving freely over my body, with a half smile I'd seen him give the village girls 100 times before. Why had Nesta changed her mind? I just stared him down and continued along. My note for this was, I'm sick to my fucking stomach.
Yeah.
Just that one chunk and I remember you kind of touched on this in the spoiler-free episode, that there's clearly something else going on with Nesta in these chapters. And I remember the first time I read Thorns and Roses, I had that same exact thought, and I was really worried, and it turned out to be correct.
Right.
We find out that he sexually assaulted her.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like we get that in the same paragraph that we first learn that Claire Better's house was fucking burned down.
Yeah.
I mean, those of us who have read ACOTAR, if not the whole, all of Sarah J. Maas' series, we know she just loves to rip our hearts out. And it's just like, I think what's so fascinating is she does it even before you realize she does it sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, and it's only in hindsight that you're like, oh
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Whew.
Well, I think it's what makes the rereads so awesome, because she kind of incepts you like a lot.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, hilariously, I think kind of goes along with what we were just saying about you and detective Easter eggs, how you like to write, and why I think you're a good writer. Is it's like it's kind of all wrapped up in this like idea of she and Sarah incepts you a lot, of giving you these little things that in the moment feel very innocuous. They feel very like, okay, like whatever. Like from a first time read headspace, this paragraph does not give you a lot besides the fact that Thomas just seems creepy. Like that's which that's like is something, but there's not, and like this sort of thing that you think is not a big deal about this like house that someone burned down. I mean, it gives
could happen anytime.
Well, it gives you info of just like, right, the mortal realm is just awful. There's just shit happening all the time. Like it just like what an awful place that they're in. And so that's kind of it. But then when you are rereading all of a sudden, just like Ariel said, this paragraph seems so it's a wildly important paragraph that you just like happily read through the first time. Like it's so, and I think that's like the gift of Sarah and why so many of us have reread these books multiple times, because there's just something each time.
Yeah. And I think what's even crazier is like, obviously she sets up the better house for this book.
Yeah.
But we don't find out about Thomas for, I think Nesta tells Cassian in either Mist and Fury or Wings and Ruin. I want to say it's Mist and Fury. So at least another book. And then we don't really get the full story, I think, until Silver Flames.
Well, yeah, like all I think we really hear, it's when they're all meeting at the house. And we just know that she's been probably touched in a way that she has not wanted to be. That's kind of all we really learn that first time with Cassian.
You can kind of connect the dots.
You can kind of connect the dots there. Yeah. And then in Silver Flames, we get the full story. So yeah, it is. Yeah. It's just wild that she's already just kind of giving you these little bits, which it feels very real. I
was gonna say it's like testament to how real she makes these characters.
Yeah, because if this was a real world scenario, like the brother would, I mean, Thomas, he probably would be obviously a fucking creepy dude, and he sees, at this point, I'm assuming that he doesn't realize that that's Nesta, that's Feyre, because we have to remember what she looks like right now, right? She's like, she's fully like, I mean, I guess we don't really know what she's wearing, but it's just, she looks like a very highfalutin woman walking around.
Yes.
And so in a real world scenario, it makes sense that this would be the kind of guy who would leer at her as she walks around, and so ugh. But yeah, the thing, it's all very icky. It's all very uncomfortable.
So icky. I hated it, but I loved it in terms of like the writing, right?
Oh yeah.
It's just such good writing.
It is.
So yeah, then Feyre goes back home. She starts to garden with Elaine because like she mentions, she hasn't been able to paint. So she kind of takes to gardening, right? So
in this gardening, I know you're like leaping to, but this gardening to me, I feel like it just shows she needs action as a person, which I therefore think means it's just further proof that she would not have been happy with the life Tamlin would have made for her.
Funny enough, I was going to say, I wonder if on a subconscious level she's gardening instead of painting because that is the thing that most connects her to spring, right? The spring court. But you're absolutely right because it's not light bulb just went off. She's gardening because she needs something to do, right? Yeah. But that's not what her passion is. Like she's kind of doing it in a very like passive way. And the only reason she's gardening is because she can't paint. Yeah. She can't bring herself to paint, which is her actual passion.
Ooh, little Tamlin Reese, little metaphor there happening. Yep. Very nice. Very nice.
Oh, thank you.
Wow, look at us just like, that was a nice little tag team situation we just did there. Right? Totally unplanned, you guys. That was natural.
I know.
So
nice little volley.
No, but I love how you took that further. I think that's a really interesting like metaphor. Whether Sarah did it intentionally or not, I think it's very easy to see. So I think it's that metaphor I think totally works, but I think also just this brass tacks, like this woman cannot just like sit still and like sit in a home and like look pretty. That's just like not how she navigates or how she just lives. And I just think it's so fascinating that like she just throws herself into some action. It just really hit me because I was just like, yeah, this just like proves like she does not. And also it also proves that like the woman that she was at the spring court. Yeah. It was like a vacation Feyre. Like it doesn't feel, I mean, yes, she was painting all the time. And I think that clearly like she's someone who needs a goal, a task. Exactly. Yeah. And I really think that if this whole Amarantha, all this kind of other shit hadn't happened, I think pretty quickly she would have been like, okay, I need to do more than just paint and walk around the hillside with you. Like, I think that would have come out, you know?
Yes, in the spring court.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, and I think what's funny about like her choosing gardening over something else in even the human lands, like, we know at this point they're throwing a ball.
Yeah.
She could have helped plan it. That's doing, right? But that's not Feyre.
No,
like
it's
that's
not.
just that's like there's a specific type of doing she needs to do. And I think the doing has to do with other people. And even though, yes, like a ball is for other people, like it's not in the same way. Like gardening, like she's gardening with Elaine, right? It's something that makes her happy.
Yeah.
Painting, oftentimes we see throughout the series, she will give paintings away to her loved ones. Like she'll paint her loved ones. It's also like, therapy for her. So yeah, I think that is really interesting that she chooses gardening.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, literally she gets her hands in the dirt, right? Like
she gets dirty.
Nesta comments on it. She says, even if you wash them, there'd be no hiding it. To fit in, you'd have to wear gloves and never take them off. And like Nesta sees like, I just keep thinking of that fucking Justin Bieber meme. It's like, it's not clocking to you, but like it is clocking to Nesta. Like she sees. Then, and I know we talked about this before and I want to bring it up. There's this quote that Feyre says on page 262 about Nesta sitting under this tree that she kind of tends to sit under. And she describes Nesta as beautiful, imperious, still as one of the high Fae.
Yep. That's 263, actually, just to put that out there.
Thank you.
It's all good.
I think we might have touched on this last week.
Yeah.
But it just becomes more and more apparent the more we read on. There's no way, at the bare minimum, that Nesta, I'm going to venture and say all the Archeron sisters are fully human.
Yeah, no, I
there's just not.
I'm having one of my, like, I have too many thoughts and words to say moments. Like, I literally have, these ladies are not human. Like, I have it written like 5 times in my notes. Like, I just think whether it's like a dormant gene or some fucking shit, I don't know. But these ladies are just, there's too many specific things. Well, I mean, yes, this quote alone.
I mean, and this is when Nesta is human still. Because, like, you could argue with Nesta and Elaine, they were put into the Cauldron, right? So they were given, like, crazy powers. And then Feyre was given powers from all 7 High Lords when she becomes Fae. So you can, like, make the argument, right, if we're going to devil's advocate this, that that's why they become these crazy powerful Fae women, right?
Yeah,
but the chances of all 3 of them,
I don't buy it. I really don't. Like, I think there needs to be something already in that person to get to the level of power that these 3 get to. I mean,
especially Nesta, I would say.
Death
like
Trove,
Feyre,
that is nothing to snuff at, people. Like, that is fucking, that's a big fucking deal. I feel like we sometimes like get so caught up in like the Nesta Cassian of it all, of that book, that I feel like sometimes we forget like how actually within this within this world, within this land and all this stuff, this is a huge fucking deal that she's able to find all of them and actually use all of them at the same time. And she doesn't go mad. She doesn't die. Like, we have these stories, like, this is crazy. So, like, I feel like with like Elaine, we still have some curiosities there, but being a seer is very powerful. That's a very powerful thing. And then Feyre being able to actually hold all that power
when she's dead. She starts off dead.
Yes.
Right? A dead human.
Yes.
Being resurrected and then given 7 fucking powers of all the high, like, and like there's just no way she's
being able to like I don't know. I've read a lot of fantasy books, and I feel like in other realms, it's like that would like make the human explode or something because they couldn't handle that much power. Like, I just feel like these women, and I don't know what it is, We could speculate till the cows come home. But I just feel like there's got to be something in the mom's line, because we don't get a clear discussion of her lineage. Because there's also, this quote has bothered me for a long time, when Tamlin in the beginning goes, "Your mother never told you about us." And I don't.
That gets brought up a lot.
And I know it could just be, oh, your mom didn't tell you like bad bedtime stories or something. Like, I know it could be that simple.
Right.
But it's just, I don't know. And then how he behaves when he finds out that she's dead. Like, there's some, and I don't know if Tamlin knows, or if he like, I don't know.
Yeah, it could be, it's definitely loaded to some degree. I also think like there's actually 3 characters in this series that go into the cauldron and come out. Obviously Nesta and Elaine.
Yeah.
And Amren. Because remember, in ACOTAR, Amren lets go of her Fey body, lets her, whatever she is, loose, and then goes back into the cauldron and comes out again. But she's lost a lot of her powers. Remember?
Technically, there's 4. There's the one human queen who goes in and gets turned into a crone, basically.
Yes.
Basically, she gets she gets stuff ripped from her, which everyone blames on Nesta because she took part of the cauldron with her. So technically 4.
And she's a huge, because like Amren, you could argue like it makes sense because we know Amren is something we don't quite know what yet. I have theories.
I think she's a fire drake.
Oh, that'd be rad.
Yeah.
I think she's something connected to at least one of the other series.
Oh,
We've discussed this. Again, I think we're gonna have to do some bonus episode or live to like talk about inter-series theories because man, are there a lot.
There's a lot.
But that makes sense. But we do know, and thank you for reminding me of the human queen, because like, she gets her shit rocked.
Yeah. That's why she hates Nesta so intensely.
Yes. And, you know, the argument that's made is the reason she becomes this old crone is because Nesta and Elaine took something from the cauldron, right?
Nesta specifically,
Nesta specifically. And because Elaine goes in the cauldron first, right?
Yes, but there's this whole thing where they talk about how something like both of like the cauldron gave them both things.
Right.
But there's this whole discussion where Nesta, the kind of one of the bigger reveals in Silver Flames is that they find out that Nesta actually took part of the cauldron. Like she and however you believe that or whatever, but that's also the kind of discussion as to why she has this connection to the mother, because she actually like they talk about how she actually clawed and she actually like pulled something from the cauldron, and that's
but you're telling me that human woman,
I know,
the human queen, didn't try that too. Like there is just no, I just don't buy that a mere mortal like Nesta Archeron just because, I mean, she mentions it in this chapter of like having an iron will, right? Which, I mean, iron will, if you've read certain books, that might be a triggering phrase. I don't buy that she just had a strong fucking will, and that's what allowed her to take something from the cauldron.
Exactly. I don't either. Like,
I
mean, okay. On one end, I do love the idea of thinking that, like, because you're just this very strong-willed woman that you're going to, but on the other end, are we like there's a lot of fucking strong-willed women, like just in general.
Yes.
But these 3, they're very special. And what Feyre is able to overcome and the relationship she's able to create and the kind of just like, I don't know, there's something special about these women, and I don't think it's just that they're all stubborn. Like I just don't buy that.
No.
I just feel like there's something more, and there's just so many things in this chapter. I'm so glad you said the Faye quote, because that was one that I had like actually meant to say in the spoiler-free episode of just like, isn't this kind of fascinating because it's very fascinating that she's viewing her that way.
Well, and also I think, you know, if you've read other Sarah J. Maas series, you know, she's a little bit of a trickster and has a tendency to reveal things about characters. It sometimes takes quite a while, like books, to reveal something about a character we know intimately.
Yeah.
And then be like, haha, here's this thing you didn't know about them. They actually have like insane powers.
Right.
So I would not be surprised. I mean, if she does, what a fucking long game. I mean, 6 or more books, like that's crazy. I mean, but I wouldn't put it past her.
She's building up to something. I'm sorry.
Oh.
But also, if anyone has read all of the series, y'all fucking know she's building up to something. Like, there's just...
there's no way she's not.
More just like stylistically, just how she goes about her series and her books and her things. And like, it's just... I just feel, and here's the thing, I'm not gonna be like disappointed if we never get some kind of like explanation. I'm more saying that if we do, I'm not surprised because it's just I have a really hard time believing that these women are full. And I'm not saying that like that I think maybe the mom was like Fey or like a fucking like witch or like that's not even me. I'm more thinking like something in their bloodline. I didn't mean to get there. Actually, that was a natural thing that I got. but yeah, like I just feel like there's something in there, something dormant in their bloodline or something,
or they're blessed by something,
or they're blessed by something, or I just I don't know. And we'll unpack that in later roads, but because even like page 264, Nesta snorted, her face grave and full of that long simmering anger that she could never master.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't think of the death mask when you read that, I also just like love
or the silver flames.
That's what it's kind of like I love this quote so much because it's just so Nesta. It's just so like full of that long simmering anger that she could never master. Like I also just didn't kind of realize how, again, she incepts you, because I knew who Nesta was. I could feel her as a character throughout the series, but I never remembered these just bold-faced quotes of like, she has angry eyes. Like that never... And it isn't until we've been doing this sort of like book club situation that it's made me really realize like how much just within the language of almost every single time she talks about Nesta, there's something to do with her angry eyes that she just like can't control. And my silver flames, friends, that's all over that fucking book.
I mean,
it's just...
Well, I think the other thing pointing to them not being human is the glamour doesn't work on Nesta. I mean, and like, I know we talked about it a little bit in the spoiler-free episode where like once Nesta and Feyre start talking about in chapter 31, like they start talking about the betters and like how their house burned down, and Feyre's like, I gotta get back to Prythian. That seems to burst the glamour bubble for Elaine and Papa Archeron. Yeah. But we think Elaine also is probably not fully human. And who knows, maybe it doesn't come from the mom's line. Maybe it comes from Papa Archeron's line. Or to be fair, we don't actually see that happen to him. We're just told from Elaine that he started kind of like getting unglamored. But we never actually see it.
No, I mean, Elaine, no one says anything about the dad. Except for the fact that of like on 270, it's like, my father and Elaine began blinking as if clearing some fog from their minds.
That's what I'm thinking.
And then later, when we see Elaine, she just says, I remember it all. I remember all of it now. And that's it. The only thing we get about dad is that father was nowhere in sight. And I didn't have it in me to say goodbye to my father once more.
So yeah, we actually don't know for sure if Papa Archeron broke free of the glamour, but Elaine did.
Yeah.
And I mean, that fits in perfectly with this theory that all three of them are something. Well, but specifically Nesta.
Just Nesta to not, and I okay, so I do think this could go along actually with our with our whole idea of them not being fully human, if that it's a combo of them not being fully human and Nesta being her strong-willed fucking self.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, that could be why it never worked on her and why it still kind of worked on Elaine for a little while.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, I mean, I think regardless, she has a strong as fuck will, right?
Yeah.
But one thing I do want to point out, and again, I'm not going to go into other series, but let's not forget that 8-pointed star on Nesta.
Yeah.
Like, that means something. And the other two girls don't have that.
Yeah.
I think Nesta specifically is destined for something.
I think we already know that she is because she got the fucking death trove. Like, I mean, we already know that there is a level of her being destined for something. And the thing is that like the more we've gone through this process, the more I'm really feeling like they're all destined for something. Like Feyre's destiny was to become the first High Lady and to kind of like group Prythian, like have Prythian actually start like working together. And also like she all these people, all these Fae now know that Rhys is actually not a bad guy. Like that's huge as well. We like kind of forget about that too. So I think Feyre is meant, you know, her destiny was to like fuck some shit up within the Fae world. I think, you know, Nesta, I feel like we have half of her destiny. I feel like there's got to be something else that's coming down the road. But even her just bringing the Valkyries back is huge.
I mean, that fits in with Lady Death. She resurrected the Valkyries.
Yeah. So, and then Elaine, whether it's the redemption of Tamlin, whether it's like, I don't know. I just feel like all of these.
I think it'll be bigger than that. Honestly.
I think so.
I mean, I think it's part of it, but I think if
I doubt Sarah would have it be connected to like a man's arc.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I think just like Nesta and Feyre, you know, they have their male lovers and it's important to them, but I don't think that like Feyre becoming a High Lady and then Nesta becoming Lady Death and the Dead Trove and all that, it's like they do that really on their own. And I think Elaine will have something of her own as well.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see what it is. I sometimes wonder if it'll be at all connected to, I always forget her name. She's brought up in Silver Flames, the bird woman.
The bird woman.
She's like the princess who has to turn into like a firebird at night or whatever.
You mean the girl at the lake.
Yes. Because I feel that's gonna come back.
God, these stories, they're so thick. Because every now and then I like I know when we get to Jurian, I'm gonna be like, bro, I completely forgot about you, homie.
Fucking Jurian.
Vasa,
that's it. Yeah, I wonder if Elaine's destined whatever will be related to Vasa or some like hers is definitely going to be more like a like kind of I feel humanitarian, like
which feels on brand,
gentle, or like foreseeing the future. I know we talked about Cassandra in the last episode, like something like that.
Yeah.
Which we'll probably start getting. I mean, we might have started getting some clues already that we don't quite know yet, but we'll probably start getting more of at least in ACOTAR 6. So I'm curious. But yeah, all of this to say, these sisters they're definitely not fucking fully human. And they're destined for something huge each.
I feel it in my bones. Well, but just like I don't know, Ariel and I were talking about like what the spoiler episode was really going to be for like these 2 chapters. And so much of it just feels like Nesta foreshadowing. Cause you know, so like, right. Like we find out she hasn't been glamored like at all. And there's this moment where it's on 265. And we already talked about in the spoiler-free episode, but I just feel like it's such an important quote of just when she's like, Feyre's looking at Nesta, and it's after Nesta's just kind of been like, it was wrong. Like like, of course I went after you. Of course I looked for you. It wasn't right that you were taken. It wasn't right. And Feyre's just staring at her sister, and she's like, But she had cared. Beneath it, she had cared and perhaps loved more fiercely than I could comprehend, more deeply and loyally. And if this is not the most perfect description of Nesta to prep you for Silver Flames, because this is the battle that Nesta is having for majority of that book. Because even before that line that I just read, it basically says it's like, you know, this woman who had shrouded the loss of our mother, then our downfall in icy rage and bitterness, because the anger had been a lifeline, the cruelty a release. So this is a woman who has used anger as a lifeline, as a way to convince herself to go forward. But that in actuality, the anger is a protection for the fact that she actually cares so deeply. And she is fiercely loyal and intense about it. And that is such a, like, I feel like that could be like the fucking tagline for Silver Flames. Like, it's just the level of, she is battling, she has these discussions with herself in Silver Flames of like hearing the voice of all the mean things she could say, and like whether she's going to make the decision. She has to decide if she's going to let that part of herself out or not. And it's this like, because she's basically trying to decide if she truly, how much of her caring is she going to let out? How much is she going to show? And that's the wall between
vulnerable.
her. Exactly. That's the wall between her and Cassian. And the main reason why I think that wall really starts coming down with her and Cassian is because of fucking Gwen and Emery. Like, these women start, which is so, like every like female identifying person out there with your pals, like the world problems we solve together. And just like that feeling, the girlhood, like, it's a joke of a phrase, but it's so real, of like,
so real
what we can show to each other. And I just feel like this quote is just, it really slapped me in the face of like, holy God, this is Nesta. Like, this is literally all you need to know. This entire paragraph is all you need to know about Nesta.
Well, and I think that paragraph is actually supported a little bit later on pages 266 and 267, where she talks about her dad.
Yeah.
And she says, there are days when I wanted to ask him if he remembers those years he almost left us to starve to death. And Feyre reminds her that, you spent every copper I could get too. And then Nesta says, I knew you could always get more, and if you couldn't, then I wanted to see if he would ever try to do it himself instead of carving those bits of wood. If he would actually go out and fight for us. I couldn't take care of us, not the way you did. I hated you for that, but I hated him more. I still do. And then she goes on to say, he's always known I hated him, even before we became poor. He let Mother die. He had a fleet of ships at his disposal to sail across the world for a cure, or he could have hired men to go into Prythian and beg them for help. But he let her waste away. He let her die. And I think that is in some ways, the biggest testament to her loyalty, because we later find out in Silver Flames, she also has a lot of feelings about her mother, right? Yeah. Like, she has a very I would say she doesn't hate her mom like she hates her dad, but she has a very understandably complicated relationship to her mom because of like how her mom raised her to value herself based on her body and what she could do for men, right? Yet she's still loyal to her.
Yeah.
Right? And kind of going back to what you were saying, I know I've talked about this before. I'm a Leo in astrology. And for those who don't know, like, if you kind of Leos get a lot of shit for being like, self-centered and gossipy and blah, 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 blah. But really, Leo comes down to loyalty, right? And I think this is part of the reason why Nesta is my favorite character. I'm so glad you brought it up, because I don't think I even like really had found the words to articulate why I love her, and it really is because of her loyalty. And I think sometimes, and this happens with me, loyalty can look a little bit ugly in the sense of you have to kind of be a bitch to some other people to stay loyal to the people you're loyal to.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So in Nesta's case, it's testing her dad. It's hating her dad because she knows he let their mom die, who she's loyal to, even though he didn't need to.
Yeah.
He had so much money at his disposal, and he chose that over his wife's life, over the mother of his children's life.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that is fucked up. And frankly, I'm kind of sitting here going, you know what, Nesta? Fuck yeah. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Fuck your dad.
Yeah.
She proves it even more by, we talk a lot about how she can be very self-centered in terms of, like, she would spend, like Feyre points out, you spent every copper I could get too, right? That's absolutely true. But at the end of the day, Nesta's the type of ride or die where she's going to get past that glamour and she's going to fucking get a horse and she's going to hire the mercenary with those last fucking coppers that they do have, and she's going to ride to the fucking wall because she knows her baby sister who fought for them, who kept them alive, has been kidnapped by a fae, and damn it, I don't give a fuck if I'm going to get killed in Prithian too. I'm at least going to go and try and get her.
Yeah.
And that is a loyal fucking person for you.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, we talked about it a lot in the last episode, but just the simplicity of when Feyre just keeps being like, why? And Nesta just keeps saying it wasn't right. Yeah. Like, and that to me feels very much like that wildly loyal person who almost gets to a point of like, I don't understand why you're still asking me this question.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't right.
Right.
Like point blank.
What else do I have to say?
Like, because I feel like it's kind of funny because I kind of feel like you and I do this for each other a lot, of this sort of like black and white, like things become, I know at least for me, when it comes to like defending you, sometimes to yourself, it becomes,
same with me to you.
Yeah, it becomes very black and white to me, where I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, it's this simple. It's this simple. You were taken and it wasn't right. It's this simple. You're incredible and other people suck. Like, it's often how
Nesta.
It's often what I'm saying to Ariel. But like, it's just, I think a lot of people can relate to this. You're bound to have someone in your life that you feel this intensely about, or maybe it's a pet, I don't know, but there is probably something in your life that you have this sort of, it becomes very black and white to you, where if anything kind of happens to that person, any other issues that you may have or think, or being any other being in your life, if there's issues or if there's problems, but when something goes down, it doesn't fucking matter. You're just gonna do something about it, and it just, everything kind of like fades away. And I feel like that's something that someone who is very fiercely loyal does. And as someone who is very fortunate enough to have probably some of the closest people in my life are Leos, that's real with you guys. It's very real. The loyalty is very intense.
I gotta do some TikToks on like what I like, the big threes I think each of the ACOTAR characters are. Yeah. I would venture and say I could see Nesta being a Leo moon, honestly.
I have a question though.
Yeah.
Could you see her being an Aries?
I think her sun sign is honestly probably either sun or rising is Scorpio.
Okay.
Because Scorpios feel very intensely and are very, very dark. I can also see maybe Capricorn being, I think like her big three is somewhat made up of either, like in some order, Scorpio, Capricorn, and Leo. I don't think she's an Aries.
Oh, wow. Bummer.
And honestly, I hate to say it, I don't think any of the sisters are Aries. I'd have to think about, Cassian probably has some Aries. Because I mean, we're God. Come on.
Yeah. I think that's funny. Just like I feel like the more we're talking about this now, the more I do feel like she definitely gives off like total Leo energy.
Well, because again, like I mentioned, like Leos at their worst can be pretty self-involved. Yeah. And she gets like criticized for that a lot, and understandably so at times.
Yeah. I mean, she definitely descends into a level of selfishness that I do think, I mean, I think a lot of it is like misread, but I also think that Sarah does this all very purposefully. You know, I think that's why many of us who do love Nesta, that's why we love her so much. She is incredibly flawed, and that's what is important about her, actually, is that she is flawed. That's what's so important. But yeah, I'm so glad we did both of these quotes from chapter 30, because it's literally just like, if you have any questions about Silver Flames after you read Silver Flames, read these, literally just read this chapter, because it's
truly.
it's like, it gives the explanation about the dad. It gives the explanation about her hatred. But then the quote that I said, like, yeah, it's so crazy, because I just love that Sarah, she gives us literally like, Webster's dictionary defines Nesta as, like, we get a definition of her as a person and as a character, and it's so expertly done, because you don't feel like it's being slapped in your face, you know?
No. Now, I know we've been talking about Nesta pretty much this whole time, but I do want to talk a little bit about Tamlin in chapter 31.
Okay.
We touched on this, and I know I think we kind of did the same thing with this quote, where we like started talking about it, but we're like, oh fuck, we can't really fully talk about this until the spoiler half. So it's on page 268.
I'm intrigued now, because now I don't think I know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. So Feyre says, but I kept thinking about what Nesta had said about saving Tamlin. I known something was wrong. I known he was in trouble, not just with the blight on Prythian, but also the forces gathering to destroy him were deadly. And yet I'd stopped looking for answers, stopped fighting it. Glad, so selfishly glad to be able to set down that savage, wild part of me that had only survived hour to hour. I'd let him send me home. I hadn't tried harder to piece together the information I gathered about the Blight or Amarantha. I hadn't tried to save him. I hadn't even told him I loved him. And Lucien had known it too, and shown it in his bitter words on my last day, his disappointment at me. To which I say, baby girl, that is not your burden to bear.
Yeah.
Like, and look, we did talk about in the spoiler-free episode, like, kind of being 50-50. And I hate to say it for anyone who listened to that episode, I lied a little bit. I'm not 50-50. I am more like 80-20 on this. I do I understand why she feels this way, and I think she's valid in feeling this way based on the knowledge she has. Like, this is not me. I'm not mad at Feyre. I'm mad at Tamlin for making her feel this way, because, well, yes, she could have fought harder and she could have asked more questions, and we've kind of like talked about this in previous chapters before. There is so much she cannot know.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, I think this is kind of part of the abuse of this relationship with Tamlin. Whether I don't think he intended it, right?
Because gavel, he can't say anything. Yeah.
No. But I think it's more of the, like, I know Lucien also can't say anything either, but she really took it hard.
Yeah.
That she says, he'd shown it in his bitter words on my last day, his disappointment in me.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a difference between trying to get someone to see something and then acting disappointed in them when they don't see it, you know?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I also think this opens up the conversation of, like, accidental abuse.
Yes.
Maybe abuse isn't the right word, but like accidental trauma or accidental, because, and I'm not really talking about Tamlin here. I'm more talking about Lucien, in the sense of, like, because we discussed a lot about how we feel like his frustration in that moment is kind of just this, like, overall frustration of just being completely powerless. He can't tell Feyre anything. He can't. And so he kind of, behaved childishly and kind of threw it at her. And, it's this discussion where we accidentally place hurt on people when we really have had no intention to.
Right.
But it happens. And so I think that's, like, the trickiness with Lucien, is that I bet you anything after she started clip-clopping away in her little carriage that he was disappointed in himself and how he made Feyre feel.
I'm sure.
That's not me excusing it. I think it's just like,
No.
right? It's just that place of like understanding of like, I just feel, to me, Lucien just kind of felt like a little kid acting out in that moment.
Yeah.
You know?
I think what for me, for both Lucien and Tamlin, because remember, Tamlin has a much bigger role in
Yeah.
all this. I actually think accidental abuse is perhaps the correct term, because it's moments like those, both on Lucian's part, but also Tamlin's part, like when he said, I love you, right? You know, we talked about last week, like whether or not he meant it, or if he was just, you know, using her for the curse. I think it was both. It's in those moments, though, when all they're trying to do is get her to break this curse, that they stop seeing her as a person and start seeing her as a means to an end.
Yeah. She's like an object.
And that's where it becomes really hard for me to defend them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that includes Lucien, right? And I think, again, Lucien is it's I have way more empathy for Lucien, because he's just like, first off, he's not the reason the curse
He's kind of
began.
caught up in the middle of it all.
He's totally caught up in the middle.
Yeah.
And he's frustrated with Tamlin being like, why aren't you doing more, right?
Yeah.
He's frustrated with Feyre, understandably too, because he's like, how do you not see it? But then it's like, dude, like, she's a human.
How,
like,
exactly, like, she doesn't even really know that like a curse like this could exist. Like, she has no concept. Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting, the quote as well that you just said, this whole, you know, I'd known he was in trouble. This section where she's like, and yet I'd stopped looking for answers, stopped fighting it. Glad, so selfishly glad to be able to set down that savage, wild part of me that had only survived hour to hour. This little moment kind of gave me a little bit of a thought of how Tamlin, to me now, is a representation of escapism.
Yeah.
Because, yes, we do not want Feyre living hour to hour from a survival standpoint, right? None of us wish that upon her. We want that. We want her to feel safer than that, obviously. Yeah. But this savage, wild part of her, which she goes face to face with in the mirror, is intrinsically a part of who she is. Yeah. It is just who she is. That's what the mirror shows, right? It shows like that is a part of her. And so this quote just made me realize, like, wow, he is such a representation of escapism. Like, he is a representation of the fairy tale, which we have talked about so many times. But for some reason in this quote, I was just like, she lost a part of herself in this bubble with him. Part of it was necessary to lose, I think.
Yes.
Which, and I know we've talked about this so many times, you guys, but I'm shocked by how consistently we're getting language proof of this idea of like she lost a part of that wildness that makes her who she is. And I think what Rhys ends up doing is helping her find a new way to have that wildness in her life and it not be attached to just hour by hour survival.
To refine it
and to put it into something, not trying to get rid of it, just trying to give it a perspective shift.
You just made me realize something that I'm going to piggyback off of you.
Please
saying that with Tamlin lulled her into a false sense of security.
Yes.
Because Tamlin knows he is in a battle, right? Like he's under this curse and there's only one or two, he has to go one of two ways, right? Either he can try and break this curse, which will involve Feyre, and if she helps break the curse, Amarantha's coming after her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or he doesn't break the curse, and regardless, Amarantha is coming after her and him, right? So what he did is he basically like gave her this vacation, right? Where she could let her guard down.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she actually has to like fight, suddenly she's pretty unprepared.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, like we see, for being unprepared, she does a stellar fucking job, right?
Yeah.
But that's really fucked up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Whereas Rhys never pretends. He never pretends, oh, everything is just peachy keen and we're just gonna like, lay back in my court and just like have they obviously have some good times at like Starfall and stuff like that, but he keeps it real, right? He's like, yeah, no, Amarantha might be dead now, but we have a whole slew of new problems with the King of Hybern and like all this other stuff. So like while we can have our moments of joy, and it's about balancing the joy with the terror, right? We also have to be prepared for a fight. Yeah. Because it's a pretty big, gnarly fight. Yeah. And I think that's where, I think we talked about last week how, we talk about it a lot, just Tamlin's lack of foresight, right? God. And I really do think the original plan for Tamlin, regardless if it was, because we do kind of, I think, find out he tried this with multiple humans before, and I think they all died before they could even get to the Spring Court. But like, I think his whole plan initially to break this curse was just find any human woman, right? Get her to kill one of his friends with hatred in her heart. He'd bring her back to the Spring Court, con her. Yeah. Because let's be honest, it's a con, like making a woman fall in love with him that he doesn't expect to fall in love with. Right. And then just discard her in whatever way after the curse is broken. Because, like, I really don't think he had any plans for what to do with Feyre after. At least not until he falls in love with her.
Right. Right. Yeah, no, I don't feel like we're given much of an idea that he had a lot of plans. I do think though that this is why like we do get comments from people like Lucien or from Rhys saying this kind of stuff of like, you haven't been trying. Yeah. So there is a level of, I feel like Tamlin probably had that idea like in the beginning. Yeah. And then I think the reality of it hit him. Because I also believe that this is why this man is just like, he just oozes like guilt and self-pity like the rest of this series. Yep. I think that's the tragedy of Tamlin of that he has to almost escape himself to a degree. Yeah. Because he being the lack of forethought man that he is, thinks that he doesn't have an alternative. Right. Like I keep thinking that like if Rhys was somehow in this scenario, I feel like Rhys would have been leaving like Easter eggs for her like everywhere to try to figure this out. Like I feel like he would have been like having so many serious conversations like close to her door. And I just it's so, and like because you make a really good point of like Tamlin, they kind of live in this la la land together. Yeah. And I just think it's more of a representation of like, because and I know you agree with me on this, like neither of us feel that he is like maniacal. No. I think this man's just ability to compartmentalize is dangerous. Like, I think because you're absolutely right. While he's like wooing her, the deadline is coming to an end and things are getting fucking scary. And he is not prepping her whatsoever. I don't think anyone knew this trial thing, right? Like I don't feel like we knew that was going to be a thing that could happen. But like
it only happens because she doesn't break the curse and then comes to under the mountain. Right. So yeah, that was not even like no one could have predicted. But still,
there's like and I know he can't tell her anything, but like it's just so hard to not think about what Rhys maybe would have.
I know.
If he had somehow gotten himself in this scenario, like how this would have gone down. Yeah, it's just it's like the tragedy of Tamlin, because anytime that I find myself wanting to go really hard on like, this motherfucker, this other little voice goes in my head of like, well, he couldn't say anything in the curse. Like, okay. Yeah. Also, this curse is like stuck between a fucking rock and a hard place. Like, this is an awful curse. And it's just, but it's really comes down to this man's lack of, he is just this self-pitying little boy.
He's had almost 50 years to figure it out, right? I think that's the other thing is it's like it's not like he had like a few months or a year to like try like I could if it were that timeline, I could be like, okay, like that is a pretty hefty uh that's a big burden
Yeah.
to overcome in that short amount of time. But 50 years.
Yeah, to me, it feels very how I think we're supposed to view the Beast in Beauty and the Beast. Which
Yeah.
I mean, I obviously it makes sense that we feel that way, but like
Yeah.
how it's towards the end, he's pretty much given up, right?
Yeah.
Like he basically has just decided he's going to be a beast, like the rest of his life. And I feel like that's why, because we even know that Andres is supposed to be the last. He was the last one they sent out because he was just like, I'm fucking done. I don't want to do this anymore.
Oh, Tamlin.
Oh, Tamlin.
But there's not actually a ton that we haven't said in the spoiler-free episode that I have to say in this, like, in regards to this chapter, other than, like, Tamlin and a couple things about Nesta, like, very, like, you know, we go and I know this is our, you know, spoiler-free episode for people who have read the full book or the whole series, but, like, we really do encourage you to listen, even if you've read the full series, like listen to our spoiler free half because like we can kind of dive a little more into like literary analysis.
Yeah.
I think with that here, we're talking about spoilers galore.
Yeah.
So, you know, we go over the whole like Feyre finding out about the betters and how, you know, I mean, that's rough because like, especially, I mean, it's rough enough just knowing their house burned down and the family died, but like, knowing what we know of like
knowing what happens to Claire. Yeah,
that's pretty rough. The one thing I did, this was just kind of a funny thing. So this is after Feyre finds about the betters and she tells Nesta like, you know, don't tell anyone about me. Like Nesta knows she's gonna go back. Nesta starts helping her. Feyre says, you know, there's a better world out there waiting for you to find it. And if I ever get the chance, if things are ever better, safer, I will find you again. And then right after, Nesta says, don't bother. I don't think I'd be particularly fond of fairies. I just wrote LOL.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, girl, you have no idea there's a hunky fae male just waiting for you in Prithian.
Well, but what's so funny is how consistent she does stay with this. Right?
I know.
Like she has so many issues about letting go of not being human anymore.
Yeah.
And what's so fascinating too is even when she's really started to like harness some of her strength and she's like in the middle or even more towards the end of their Valkyrie training and she's just feeling really good, Cassian and Nesta get into this whole fight about them being mates. Yeah. And because in her whole thing that she says is it's like it makes me so obviously not human to have a mate. And it's a huge and it happens unfortunately it's right like right at the end. It's like one of their last conversations before she gets kidnapped and does the blood rite. Yeah. But it's so wild because by that point in the book, you feel like Nesta is probably like settled into being Fae by that point.
Right.
But it's this, she holds on to it to the end. And it's fascinating. I'm so glad you brought up this quote because I giggled at it too, where I was like, but I giggled at it kind of oppositely of like, yeah, you kind of hold on to that longer than you probably should while she is so actively in love with this Fae male. Like so obviously in love.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I'd actually forgotten about how long she holds onto her humanness. And this kind of circles back to the beginning of this episode, what we were talking about in terms of Nesta and the Archerons probably not being fully human. I wonder if maybe the reason she clings on to her humanness is because maybe there's a part of her who has never felt human, right? Like maybe that's why it's so triggering is she's like, oh, well, now I know for sure I'm not human anymore. And I've always kind of felt
separate,
right? So I got to hold on to my humanity even harder once I feel it completely slipping away from me.
Oh, that's very
just a
fun.
Speculation.
I like that thought though. That's a fun one.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's well, and then the rest of this whole little section, and you know, Nesta is kind of, you know, she like right after what you just said, she's like, you know, let me know when it's safe. You know,
Yeah.
and if it ever is, Father and Elaine can stay here. I think I'm gonna go and see what I can kind of like make of myself, like what a woman with a good
Ugh.
name.
Yeah.
Feyre is literally like no limits. I thought there were no limits to what Nesta might do, what she might make of herself once she found a place to call her own. I prayed I would be lucky enough to see it someday, or to someday see it. And literally, I was just like, Nesta, House of Wind. Oh, this all
You gave her that
happens.
place.
This all happens. Like,
Yeah.
this all happens. Like, this limitless woman. I love this moment so much because, first of all, after this moment, we say goodbye to Elaine, and then Feyre leaves, and then y'all, that's the last time Feyre is in the mortal world as a human.
You're so fucking
yes.
right.
So that's why I think these closure moments that happen in these 4 chapters is wildly important.
Oh yeah.
She has closure with Isaac. She has closure of understanding of who Elaine is. She has closure with Nesta. She basically gets to say goodbye to her human life. Also, this means that because Papa never comes down.
No.
So that means that this kind of hungover brunch that they have, talking about the betters, is the last time Feyre is with her dad alive.
Until the war.
She sees him from afar and he gets his head chopped off.
You're right. She never actually.
No, she's the one who stays.
Oh no.
Yeah. So the fact that he actually doesn't come down.
That's rough.
Yeah. Also on brand.
Very on brand. And I think in a lot of ways is probably the healthiest thing for her.
I think so. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Because, obviously she has feelings about her father dying, no doubt. But I think Nesta and Elaine have way more feelings about it.
Yes.
And in very opposite ways. I think Elaine, she was the closest to him. So, there's a lot of mourning there. And then with Nesta, we know it's it's a different type of mourning because she really had to contend with her bitterness towards her dad.
Yep.
And how she never got that closure with him.
Yeah.
So, fuck.
Yeah.
Damn, I never thought about that.
So literally,
that's rough.
This chapter is Feyre saying goodbye to her mortal life.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And it makes so much sense.
Yeah. But I love the foreshadowing of just knowing that Feyre does get to see Nesta shine, and that she gets the House of Wind and all that. It's really beautiful.
Well, what I love is in that moment, the quote that you quoted, Nesta's obviously imagining something along the lines of maybe traveling the continent,
right.
Going off on very human adventures, and never would she imagine she would become a Fae, help kill a Fae king.
Yeah.
And then be one of 3 women or females ever to win the blood right.
Yeah.
And then live in the House of Wind with the biggest fucking Fae schlong.
With a warlord.
Sorry, I shouldn't objectify casting in that way. But
I don't know.
We remember those scenes.
Come on. Oh yeah.
Come on.
But also just for her to end up with the warlord is just so good.
Hey, going back to astrology, Aries, Leo moon.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, that's basically all I have.
I have one tiny note.
Yeah.
And I will not go into it.
Oh yeah.
Because the people who will know. And those who don't, go read the rest of the Maasverse. But on page 273, this is when Feyre is trying to get through the wall. And she's going along it. She spends, I think, a couple of days just trying to find a hole in it. And she finally does. And she says, 2 days before I spied the mossy stones placed across from each other, a faint whirl carved into them both, a gate. And that should ring some bells to some people. I know it certainly rang a bell for me. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So again, we're going to have to do some kind of bonus episode thing to talk about cross theories. But that was a fun little egg, I think. My theory eyes.
I absolutely agree. It's definitely it's just sort of interesting. It's an interesting puts a little pocket in your head.
We end on her getting back to the spring court. No one's there.
No one's
and
there.
Tamlin's gone. So
wow. We're finally here. So, guys, this means next chapter we're finding out about the curse. Then we're getting under the fucking mountain. I'm so ready.
We're so fucking ready. No, okay. We're like, we're not.
So
that's the Aries in you coming out.
Yeah.
We're not quite cooking with gas yet, but we are very close.
We're so close. We're so close. Like
taste it.
We are like a chapter and a half away from being under the mountain.
Yeah. Oh my God. So next week we're only going to do chapter 32 because, as y'all know, that's the big chapter where Alice reveals all about how it's not a blight, how it's a curse, what the rules of the curse are, etc. So there's going to be a lot to talk about and unpack. So we want to give that chapter its own episode on its own for that reason, because it will be way too long of an episode if we do any more.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you can subscribe, rate, review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. You know, obviously you're listening on one of those platforms, but if you haven't subscribed, rated, or reviewed yet, you know, that helps us get out there to other people, you know, to your other ACOTAR friends or people who haven't read ACOTAR yet that you're trying to get to read ACOTAR, because as we all know, this is a cult and we do try to recruit members into it. You can also help us recruit for the SJM cult by following us on TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Cauldron Save Us Pod. We do some fun little TikToks. We also have clips of the podcast there. So if, you know, you're trying to get someone to listen, but they don't want to fully commit, you can just send them some clips. It. Yeah. And if you have your own theories or just want to say hi, you can email us at cauldronsaveus@gmail.com. Especially, like, we are big fans of theories, especially cross-series theories. So we've had listeners reach out to us before and suggest some, and some that we never heard of that were like, oh shit. So yeah. Or if you just, you know, have any other suggestions or just want to say hi.
Yeah.
Pop on in.
Come say hi.
So excited for where we're, like you said in the last episode, we are in the final 200 pages.
We're in the famed final 200 pages of Sarah J. Maas. There it is. There it is.
It's a beautiful and scary place to be.
It's a beautiful and terrifying place to be. It's normally when I lose sleep and eating times. It's normally when I'm just like, can't do anything.
Well, on that note.
I know, on that note, as always, you're welcome.
And we're sorry. Bye, guys.
Bye.